FA Cup final. And Hatchin! What a magnificent goal!
Good evening and welcome to All Things Sky Blue. Match preview against Swansea at the CBS Arena on Saturday. Before I bring my guest in, Luke, from the Swans Cast podcast, just remember where you can find us. We are available on X or Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We are on YouTube as well. Please go and like and subscribe. We're also on podcasts, so Spotify, Amazon, or wherever else you get your podcasts from. If you do listen to us, please rate us 5 stars. And as I've said already, if you do watch us on YouTube, please go and like and subscribe. We're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena, and we're also partnered this season with the Sky Blue Tavern in town. And we're sponsored again by Wright Steel Fabrications. His logo's in the corner. He can do your steel fabrication work up and down the country, but mainly in the Coventry and Warwickshire area. So we are recording this on a Tuesday night. We've got the game against Tottenham tomorrow on Wednesday. So obviously anything that happens after that game, obviously this is pre-recorded. So any suspensions or injuries and things like that might pop up that we don't know about, but we'll have to wait and see. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest. Good evening, Luke. How are you?
Hello, good evening. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me on again.
Good. No, thank you very much for agreeing to come on. Much appreciated. Obviously, as my guests will see, I'm not in the Sky Blue Tavern tonight, but I am in my new room, if you like. Obviously, I've got a shirt up there. Eventually, I'll have more shirts going around, so that would be quite nice. But I've been having the room done out so I can do podcasts at home when the tavern's not available. So just a little bit new there for the audience as well. So before we get into it then, Luke, can you just let us know what you guys do and where we can find you?
It's probably quite similar to yourselves. We do all Swansea City content. We've got a podcast, generally goes out weekly, but we didn't have one last week. We miss them sometimes. And we do match previews generally and a couple of other bits and bobs now and again. Otherwise, most active on Twitter, or X as it's called now, but just type in Swanscast or Swanscast podcast to find us, and we should pop up quite easily, I think, now. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And again, thank you very much for joining us as well. So let's get into it then. First of all, obviously, pre-season's sort of well and truly over now, and so is the transfer window, but we'll come on to the transfers a little bit later. Let us know how sort of your pre-season went and how the start of the season went in terms of your expectations. Are you exceeding? Is it worse than you were expecting? Tell us a little bit about how it's going at the start.
Pre-season was okay, nothing special. It didn't really even win all their games. It was just kind of went on a little bit of a tour. I think it was to Austria, that sort of area. Played a couple of random teams, and it was game time more than anything. The matches, you could tell it didn't matter about the result. A lot of the time it was a case of 45 minutes for this team, 45 minutes for that team. So hard to really read into it, but we started the season away at Middlesbrough with a 1-0 defeat. On paper, I think Middlesbrough probably one of the teams to look out for this season. Probably wasn't a bad result, but some concerns that arisen from that game that have actually been quite consistent since in the games after. Lack of chance creation being the main one, and just for a team we like to keep the ball. We like to have high possession and dominate the ball that way, frustrate the opposition by keeping the ball. But ultimately, we're just struggling to do it a lot with it for the duration that we are having. So we are, the sort of cliche team of having all the possession and just kind of keeping it and passing it around quite often. I think we were a bit better against Norwich in the game just gone at the weekend. Obviously, after the international break, maybe there's a bit of chance for some of the new boys that haven't had as much time to gel, got a bit more action and a bit more involvement in the training and the regimes and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a bit better against Norwich, but generally that's been one of our weaknesses this season. I think the XG table does suggest the same. I believe we're near the bottom of that, or the bottom 5 or 6 clubs. And the other thing is as well, naming how much possession we have had when the teams against us haven't had that much ball, they seem to generally be created chances too easy, considering the balance of play that they are having. So I think it's masked a little bit because we are having high possession statistics, like 60 to 70% quite often. But ultimately, when you're then conceding, probably more chances than you create when the team's getting so much less of the ball, it's a little bit concerning, considering you're actually defending for a small amount of time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does completely. Obviously, it's, I always consider Swansea to be a good footballing side anyway. And, I think, the game, especially the games that we've played, the past 4 for us is, we've drew the last 4 games. The one that springs to mind, and it's still kind of hurts slightly, was at our place when we went 3-0 up. We thought the players thought the game was won, and you come back and you drew 3-3. The last season's game at our place as well. I think it was a little. For me, it was a little. I've seen the highlights actually today. I watched them today, and it was a little bit of a dubious free kick, and then it was poor defending in the wall for us for that one. How do you think that the games have gone between us in the past?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. But to be honest, the last couple especially, I haven't really been expecting much from. I think we started the season really early, didn't we, with the game last year, the first one. So it was hard to kind of put your finger on what was going to happen. We obviously had a new manager at the time in Michael Duff, who was trying a different way of playing. It didn't quite work out, but that Coventry game we saw at the time as a bit of a positive, thinking, oh, look, we got a draw against Coventry. That's a decent result. Also, apologies for any background noise. I'm sure it will.
No, that's all right. That's okay.
But yeah, so the other one, the 3-3 that you mentioned, I do remember that, and not very often we come back to do anything when we're behind, let alone score 3 to draw a game. So that's we seem to be able to manage it against you guys, I guess. I always think the worst in the last few years. I'm not going to lie. I think you guys have done quite well in the league, and I'm always quite pessimistic about our chances in the games. So I've seen quite a few of the draws as actually quite positive when we've come away with a point. So yeah, I mean, not complaining really.
No, I'm sure you're not. Obviously, we were, especially after that 3-3, because, like I said, we absolutely threw that away. Like I said, I find that it's very rare that we dominate a Swansea side, because you are normally a good passing side, and it's not, like I said, it's normally a good game. But for some reason, we've got a couple of bogey sides. There's you and Preston, and there's probably another 1 or 2 out there. But you and Preston spring to mind mainly, that we struggle to find the results. Even when we're in winning positions, we just seem to, I don't want to say bottle it, but we kind of lose concentration, or something happens and we end up either drawing the game or losing the game. We haven't won. We haven't beat you guys, since 1981. Apart from that, it's been draws or we've lost, and that's why you're a little bit of a bogey side. But I think, we are missing a couple of players. Hopefully, they might be back for the game against you guys. I don't think they're going to be quite ready for tomorrow against Spurs, and that's obviously Sheaf and Sakamoto. Sheaf especially, because we are missing that central midfield sort of stalwart, if you like. He is the captain, and he is a really, really good player as well, to boot. So hopefully we'll have Sheaf back to solidify. But the thing that sort of has impressed me the most about our last game against Watford is how fast we started. I know we drew, but for me, it wasn't necessarily about the result. Yes, I'd love 3 points away from home. But if I've said it before on here, and I've said it before on our Twitter space or X space and other pods that I've done, you draw your away games and you win your home games, and you'll be somewhere close. And I'm still a firm believer in that as well. So even though we drew against Watford, we were away from home, and we started so quick and we started so bright. And that's what sort of impressed me the most. And we had a good performance. You're always going to have spells where you don't have the ball against a good Watford side anyway. And like yourselves, you know, on Saturday, there'll be spells where we don't have the ball, even at home. But we've just got to make sure that we see that pressure out and don't lose concentration, because, you know, that's a big key for us at the moment, is not losing that concentration. On Saturday, Luke, where do you see the game winning? Is it going to be who holds the ball up, or is it going to be the midfield battles, or is it going to be a defence against attack, if you like?
I think midfield's quite important, but as I said, for us, chance creation has been difficult. So if you can kind of be a bit robust, and we have to be patient and try and, you know, spread the play, stretch you, tire you out. But that always means the longer we don't score, there's always chances for the other team on the break, or if we lose the ball in the middle of the pitch. If you've got a bit of speed about you when you attack, when you win the ball in transition, that's just... I don't know if it's a weakness of possession-based styles. I think it might be, but every time we've tried it, generally that's the weakness. Under Russell Martin now, under Luke Williams, it's always been the one thing that seems to be our Achilles heel. You know, it's all well and good keeping the ball, but one person slips up in the middle and gets hoarded, I guess, by the opposition running forward. And we just can't get back in time. You know, we're doing it right here. We have a good scattered defence, but ultimately that sort of opportunity presents itself to the opposition too often. And as a result of that, you concede goals. So that's where the opportunities will lie, I think. And if you can kind of disrupt that midfield, you'll get more of those sort of opportunities. So we got a new player in Franco that's partnering Matt Grimes. He's been quite a dog in the centre of the pitch. He's actually been really quite impressive, getting his foot stuck in, a bit of grit and feistiness that perhaps we were missing. So that's helped a little bit. He's full of energy and work rate, and he's actually been really impressive, I think, for all the fans. They've loved him, and he's kind of a bit of an unknown coming from the Portuguese league. So he'll be very important. I don't know if he's quite been found out by the Championship yet. Obviously, Matt Grimes is there. He's been around the block for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, he's important to sort of get on top of. But I think with Franco alongside him, he's allowed to have more space. So if those two can continue to build their partnership, that might be one of our keys to working out our issues going forward. But like I said, on the other foot, if you can crowd them out of the game and maybe stop them having a bit of space, stop them having that bit of time, get on top of them maybe physically as well, they're more likely to make mistakes, give the ball up in that area of the pitch. That's definitely where we will struggle.
Okay, that's interesting, because if I'm honest, you know, that's probably our weakest area. We're not the most combative. You know, we haven't got a Hamer in there anymore like we used to have. You know, we hopefully will have Sheaf back that might add that little bit of grit in there as well. But Eccles, Torp, Rudoni puts himself about a little bit. But generally, we're not necessarily the strongest. So I think that's where we kind of need to improve a little bit as well, in terms of being a little bit more physical, because, you know, as you've rightly said, I think that will be a key area, is that midfield. You know, I'm a big fan of Matt Grimes. You know, like you said, he's been around for a long, long time. He knows the league. And it's, you know, he does the dark arts, if you like, whether you like them or hate them. He does a good job in there for you guys, especially. Is there, going on to Luke Williams, is there a feeling of unrest? Are you happy as a fan base with Luke Williams, or is it starting to turn a little bit if he doesn't start picking up results?
Well, to be fair, he's had a decent start to the season, especially after the win against Norwich. I've been, though, however, I have been quite critical of him. Not in a unfair way, I don't think. Just more in the case of, I would suggest, you know, jury's still out. He's still got some work to do to prove his mission is going in the right direction. But ultimately, we're sitting in 11th place at the start of the season. I've mentioned all those things we need to work on. Anyway, he does have time, and I think he deserves that to work on those things. The only thing I was questioning is, like, we brought him in January and kind of accepted a bit of rough and tumble for the second half of the season, making sure we didn't go down, but also accepted that, right, we're going to crack on, change the way we play to what he wants, knowing it's hard to do it mid-season, so we'll take what comes with that in terms of the poor results. And I just didn't see anything change from the end of last season to where we started this season in regards to what he'd worked on in the summer. The players improving in areas that we were weak in at the end of last season. They all seemed to carry over. The weaknesses within the squad, some of them hadn't been addressed tactically. I started questioning those things. But we are having, it's mixed results, but it's enough to be comfortably higher mid-table, which is probably where we are. So I think if that's where he finishes the season, that's right for where the squad is. And then if he gets another window or two, January in the summer, to kind of keep building, keep getting some players in that maybe suit the style better, he does deserve that time. I think at the moment, it can change quickly, but compared to where we were at the start of last season, I believe we would still be hunting our first win at this stage of the season. And we've had 2 currently, so you can't really argue with the progress season to season. We started the season a lot better, and you can build from that. That's the bottom line. The confidence isn't rock bottom. You're not trying to build that up and the momentum. So it's more a case of getting the new players to gel, getting some attacking tactics and playing styles and patterns to kind of click a little bit better, and maybe shoring up the defence a little bit more, especially in transition phases, and cutting out a bit of sloppy errors sometimes. Whether all that comes in one season, it might not. And some of it might be due to the players. We are maybe a little bit short as a squad in some areas. So a couple of injuries could definitely impact what happens in the season. But I think it's too early to really say he needs to start picking up results. I think he's ticking along. If he continues the rest of the season at the rate of points per game return that we have in, then the season's fine. You obviously want more, but I don't think he'd be in a position to be sacked if it continues with the exact points per game he's had so far, if I'm being totally fair and honest. It's just how you improve after that, I guess.
Yeah, obviously, no one's really waiting at the moment, for managers to turn things around. Obviously Schumacher's just gone from Stoke. There was apologies, I can't remember the first manager that went as well.
Preston,
thank you.
Yeah.
So obviously, owners and football clubs aren't they're not waiting anymore. Robins for the past 2 seasons, has started slow, and if you like, he's probably started this one slow as well, even though we've probably done better than the past 2 seasons. But Robins, I think and I think he has come out in the past and said, he was kind of worried about his job a couple of seasons ago, and he turned it around, and he was given the time. Obviously, it helped with Doug King coming in and only just coming in, so I think that allowed him that extra time anyway. Whether he's got that this season, I hope so. But obviously, you mentioned players coming in and out as well. So you had 13 go out, I believe, and you had 10 come in. Just to name a couple of them that came in, Lawrence Figueroa, he was a goalkeeper, I believe, from Burnley that you signed. And I can't pronounce his surname, so I do apologise. Zan Zipnik, is that how you pronounce it?
Vipotnik.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm rubbish at pronouncing things.
Sorry, I am as well. I get called out all the time. Our podcast, we've signed this season as players from other places that are not the UK, and it's been a challenge in some areas.
That's right. How have they started? Are they playing much? Are they doing all right?
Okay, so Lawrence Figueroa is our goalkeeper. He's gone in to be first choice. Obviously, we had Carl Rushworth last season.
Yeah,
we didn't manage to. He's one of them. We could have probably got him back if we had been patient. But when you haven't got a number one keeper, there's only so much patient you can be.
Yeah.
And I think Rushworth only moved near deadline day, if not on deadline day. So the season started by then. To get a number one keeper in that late is a risk. Our number 2 goalkeeper also got injured, and he's out for quite some time.
Okay.
So it wasn't even like we had a number 2 that we could count on to come back in and play the first few games, So bit of a problem. So we had to take a punt because at the time Rushworth wasn't available, and that's what we've been told. And ultimately he became available late in the window. So that would have been the preference, but Vigouroux has done well since coming in. I think he got snapped up by Burnley from League One or League Two. Didn't really play when he was in the Prem with them, but I think he was like meant to be a solid third choice for him. Someone that was kind of impressing in the lower leagues. Didn't really have a chance when he was at Burnley. It was only for a season. So he's been out of football action for about a year. So maybe a little bit rusty in this early season, but he's showing that he's got the qualities to be a good goalkeeper. And I think he's worked with Luke Williams before, back when they were at Swindon together. So that's obviously where that link came from.
Yeah.
And as for Zan Vipotnik, he is a Slovenian international. He did actually play for them in the Euros. I want to say he came on against England as a sub. We haven't seen an awful lot of him yet. And he's come in with a bit of fanfare. He came in from Bordeaux on a free transfer after they, unfortunately, obviously went into administration. And obviously it was a bad situation for them. And we benefited, which is not really the best thing to want to say. But ultimately, I guess with football, his contract got torn up in essence, and we managed to pounce and got him in on a free. So we needed a striker after Jerry Yates went to Derby. But Liam Cullen's still occupying that role at the moment. He hasn't managed to oust him from starting position. And when he has been on the pitch, he's been rather quiet. He's had a tap in, I think, as his goal so far. We can't seem to get him in the game, but it comes back to what I was saying about chance creation. It's not just him. Cullen's not having the most involvement, but I think if you compare the players, Cullen is a lot more of a runner. Like, he's got a lot more energy. He will close down. He will press a lot more high energy. And I think Vipotnik is more of a target man, number 9, who wants to stay in the middle and be a goal scorer. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He's not going to... Yeah. And not to say he won't do the pressing, but it's just not... It's definitely not his strength in comparison to what Cullen offers. So when you're looking at his stats, he's just not getting hardly any touches in the game. There's no involvement there. And then we're not creating the chances for the striker to even have an opportunity on goal then. So he's been a bit of a peripheral figure. So far, I hope it obviously gets better for him. If you want another standout, I said about Franco, he's probably the standout one so far. But also Ji Sung Om, who we signed from Guangzhou, I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not the best at the team names fine. Out there.
I'll leave that one with you, Luke.
But yeah, he's a winger that we've signed. He's actually had a few call-ups for South Korea. He got called up in the last international window. But he's been impressing on and off. So he has had 1 or 2 quiet games, but then he's had 1 or 2 like man of the matches. So he's one to watch. He's adapting to the championship. He's a bit, as you can imagine, often when you get players from these foreign leagues, they're a bit more lightweight than what the English system maybe needs sometimes in terms of dealing with the physicality. So that's something that he's spoken about himself needing to adapt to. But full of trickery, full of like wanting to take players on and skills. And one of them players that can get bums off seats when it goes well. So one to watch for sure.
Oh, excellent. Nice. Very nice. And obviously you had a few people going out. To name a couple, Leon Walsh, you've mentioned him already as well. Jerry Yates. Are they big misses? Was it something that was unusual to sort of see them go?
Jerry Yates he'd never really hit the ground running here, and he wasn't really that popular with the fans because we sold Joe Perreault and he was the guy brought in to replace that. Joe Perreault back-to-back 20-goal seasons. Jerry Yates, I think he got to 11 in the end or something like that. And it just didn't click for him. But it was a tricky year for the club. You know, he technically played under 3 managers and it just didn't click for him. Sometimes that happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does,
so no hard feelings to him, but I think probably quite mutual in terms of the fans weren't too disappointed, and he probably deserves, another chance to have a fresh start. Liam Walsh left on a free after contract ended. Now, it's one of them ones that I personally would have loved him to have stayed, but his injury record is absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
And he did not play enough for what we probably were paying him. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating because when he was fit, he had the qualities to probably be one of our best midfielders, if not best midfielder in the club. Just every time he nearly hit that level consistently, he got injured again. And it's just one of those enigmas that is just so super frustrating. And the fact that he's left us on a free and gone to Luton, who just got relegated, says it all about his ability. It's one of them that clubs will take the punt when they've got that spare money to do it, because if you can keep him fit, he's an outstanding player. There's no doubt about the technical ability he possesses. Unfortunately, during his entire career so far, he just never has. And I think when he's getting to the age he's getting at, that risk is becoming more of a luxury. It's probably why he's ended up at a club like Luton, to be honest, because they can afford that, being relegated from the Premier League. The big one, probably, or two big ones, got Nathan Wood, who went to Southampton. Probably didn't get enough money for him as what we should have. Then we should have sold him last summer in reality. Left him till 1 year left in his contract. So that's a centre-back leaving, who he was out of the squad for large periods due to injury last year, but the season before, mainstay, and the fact that he was being touted for a 10 million move last summer says it all about where he was in the squad then. And Jamie Patterson's left on a free as well. He's gone to the MLS actually, but yeah, he's one that's been ever present in the squad for the last 2 to 3 seasons. Perhaps missing a little bit of his creative outlet at the moment, which is probably part of the issue that we're having going forward. So, yeah, a couple of names that we are still adjusting to not being here, but I'm sure we can move on from them soon.
Yeah, obviously, Liam Walsh, we know all about Liam Walsh and how good he is. But as you've said, his injury record, even at Coventry a few seasons ago, or many seasons ago, did hamper him slightly. And I think that's why we probably, because I think we were kind of linked with him a little bit coming back. But again, his injury record isn't the greatest. But when you've got a fit Liam Walsh, I think you're exactly right. I think in any championship side, it'd be one of the better players in there as well. And obviously, you mentioned there, we're linked with Jamie Patterson. Every transfer window, we were linked with him, but we weren't linked with him this year, to be fair. And obviously, I think he did go to the MLS as well over there. So we know a couple of them players. Obviously, Liam Walsh. I was a big fan of Jerry Yates, and I was kind of gutted for him because I would have loved him at Coventry. I think he was what we were missing, and we ended up getting Sims and Hadji Wright. I think he would have worked well or in complement with them as well, to be fair. I'm a big fan of his, but he didn't hit the ground running. I was surprised because I thought he'd suit you guys as well.
Yeah, I think he needs someone to complement him, and we didn't perhaps have that, so we didn't get the best out of him.
Yeah, he needed a Joel Perreault with him, didn't he?
Yeah, I think if they played together, that could have been very good because Joel Perreault likes to drop deep and Jerry Yates likes to run.
That's right, yeah.
People, and I think the balance would have been good. Just not sure if it worked with him on his own up top.
Yeah,
not able to keep the ball, not able to have any presence, and I think confidence just went down, and that was it.
Yeah. And obviously, I thought that you were going to keep the two, and obviously then Leeds came in for him, and obviously you let him go because I think they had one. Did they have one game together or two?
Started the season, yeah. I think Leeds got Perreault a deadline day, so
yeah, and
it would have been a couple of games, and then he went. And Jerry Yates started off okay, to be fair. His second half of the season was where none of the goals came. So, but like I said, managerial change as well and different play styles. So there's a lot of different factors.
Yeah, definitely. Any questions from your guys that you want to ask us, or did you see any threats from us?
I mean, you've got two ex-Swansea players that I don't know how often Bidwell is featuring, and I saw Latibeaudiere picked up a knock, but they do like to tend to turn up against us when we do play ex-players. So are you expecting them to feature, and where, if so? Because I know Latibeaudiere can be used anywhere, basically.
Yeah, basically, Bidwell, to be fair, hasn't started off the season great. He's been a little bit un-Bidwell-like, really, because normally, over the past 2 seasons that we've had him, he's been a constant sort of 7 out of 10 every game week, and you can rely on him massively. This season, he's probably been more of maybe a 5 or a 6, and defensively, he's just made a few errors. But I just think that I don't know whether he's not comfortable with Hadji Wright, not maybe tracking back. I've got people that listen to this will know that I feel Hadji doesn't track back enough for me, and sometimes that might play on his mind a little bit. But he's been the last game De Silva came in, and De Silva's been playing quite well. He's been playing in the cup games as well, and he's been keeping clean sheets in the cup. And he played against Watford, and he had a good game, to be fair to him. So I probably see that De Silva will come in rather than Bidwell against that, unless, again, we have got a game tomorrow against Tottenham, so you never know what happens. So Bid might come back in anyway. Latty did take a knock. I believe that I've heard today that it was just cramp rather than an actual knock. And I can't see him probably playing tomorrow to maybe give him that rest, because he did come back from Jamaica as well, and he played in central midfield for Jamaica, and he played both games. So I think...
See what I mean? Plays everywhere.
Yeah, he does. And I'm a massive fan of Latty. I think he's a brilliant utility player. And I don't think he gets enough credit. Yes, he makes the odd mistake, but, he shows passion and drive, and that's what I kind of like from him. And, when Sheaf isn't there, I think it says a lot about him, because he is our captain when he's not there. So I'm not sure. I'm hoping that he will be back, that he's not sort of risked for tomorrow, and that he will be back for Swansea against you guys. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. So just moving on then. Do you do predictions? I can't remember if you do predictions or not.
We usually do for the weekend.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your prediction for Saturday's game then?
So we haven't done it yet. I think we're filming a podcast tomorrow.
Okay.
But if we're away on we, so don't know. I thought we'd lose to Norwich and we didn't. So it's really hard to predict Swansea at the moment. I'll be totally honest with you. And I've not had a very good season start in my little prediction league that we do on the podcast.
Okay.
But I'm going to go with, I think we're coming off a positive. And you're saying about our record, our history. I'm going to go with a draw. Maybe a 1-1 draw, because we're not scoring the most. So I'd like to see us score 2. But it doesn't happen often. I think Preston is the only game in the league that we've scored more than 1 goal. Right. And they were in a mess when we played them. So, going to go 1-1 draw.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Obviously, you mentioned that you've just coming off a positive, and I think it is a good positive. You win, but it was a home game. Now, I've looked at your recent results, and your away games, you've lost both of them.
Yeah.
So, as you're coming to us, and we're coming off a positive away performance at Watford, I'm probably going to give us the edge. Again, anything can happen because you are one of our bogey sides, if you like. But I think we need to keep a clean sheet, because that's what's letting us down, and we need our midfield to score. Hadji and Sims, I think, are the only 2 goal scorers that we've had pretty much this season, bar maybe, Casey Palmer, I know, scored 1 as well, but obviously he's no longer with us. I think I'm going to go for a 2-0. I just think that I say it every time, but I think we'll just edge you with having that slight home advantage. And like I've said, you have lost both of them that you've played away so far. And you have I know there was probably changes, but you lost to Wickham in the cup as well. So yeah. I just think that your away form at the moment isn't the best. So that's why I'm going to go for a Coventry City home win and do a 2-0 victory.
I mean, we lost to Wickham at home, so...
Oh, did you? Sorry. Okay.
That was just, awful.
So,
with that one.
No, that's fine. We'll move on for that one. So, as always, with my guests that I have, I'll do quick fire questions. I don't know whether you remember the last one that we had, but this season I'm doing it slightly differently. I'm asking all the podcasts that I have on, all our guests, to answer the same questions. And then in the reverse fixture, I'll have something to come back to. And it's more of a generic questions rather than specific to Swansea. So if you can, just one-worded answers, just the first thing that comes to your head. But don't worry too much if it goes into a bit of a sentence or it's a couple of worded. That's fine. All right. So the first one is player to look out for you guys this season.
Ronald.
Okay. Where will Cov finish?
8th.
There's a few teams, to be fair, that have said 8th. Where will you finish?
12th.
Okay. One player that you'd take from Coventry.
Off the top of my head, God, that's not quick fire, is it? Sims. I'll say Sims.
Sims. Okay.
We need goals, so I'm going to say Sims.
And Luke Williams.
Possession-based manager. Positive. Okay. I don't know if it's meant to be one word or not.
No, that's fine. Based manager. Positive. Lovely. Fantastic. Well, that's the end of it. So go on. Sorry.
You'll ask me that the flip fixture, and I'll be like saying all the worst things about it.
I'm sure you won't. I'm sure it'll be fine. Right. So thank you very much for joining me, Luke. Much appreciated. If you can just let us know where we can find you and what you guys do again.
Yeah, again, we've got a podcast that goes up most weeks. We otherwise do pre-match stuff and one or two other bits and bobs sometimes when time allows. But you can find us, type in Swanscast on YouTube or any of the podcasting places, and we should come up. Otherwise, social media-wise, probably X is our most active platform. So same, just type in Swanscast there and you'll find us.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Don't shoot off after recording. We'll just have a quick chat afterwards, mate, if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries.
So just remember where you can find us, guys. It is scrolling down the bottom as well on the ticker. We are on Twitter or X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We are on YouTube. Please go and like and subscribe. And we're on podcasts as well. Please rate us 5 stars. We're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar and the Sky Blue Tavern this season. And we're sponsored by Wright Steel Fabrications. He can do your steel fabrication work up and down the country, but mainly in the Coventry and Warwickshire area. So, again, this will come out on Thursday night, obviously after the Spurs game that we've got on Wednesday. So please go and look out for that when that comes out and share it around as well. So once again, thank you very much, Luke, for joining us. Much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. And play up Sky Blues. Cheers, guys.
Good luck. Thank you.